by the power of Grayskull.
I made a money.
That's a big Twinkie.
Right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Stereo Box Podcast. The podcast that serves you 3 scoops of pop culture. I'm your host, Steve Garcia, and I'm here with my super awesome, fantastic, radical, cowabunga co-host, Aaron Schmelzer. Aaron, what's going on, bro?
What's going on? Not too much. Just trying to survive this pandemic and trying to keep my head above water over here. But a little depressed because the flea markets are no longer. But still got to keep the nose to the grindstone, hunting down those toys.
Oh man, I hear you about that, man. Yeah, man, I'm depressed as well. My last time at the flea market was the third week of October, man, and from COVID to this whole presidential election, the whole world's going crazy. But this isn't a political podcast, so we're not gonna get too much into politics. But yeah, man, it's been crazy with everything that's going on. But have you picked up anything new?
So late in the flea market season, I picked up a few Brave Star items, and then I got hooked. So I ended up getting a few more Brave Star pieces off of some Facebook groups, and I got a Colonel Bo Robot and I got a Deputy Fuzz to add to the collection. So if you don't know Brave Star, it's like a futuristic Western. It was in 1980s. It was made by Filmation, it was a short run show. But it has a pretty good following. The toys are relatively rare, but it's a small enough line to where I feel like it's manageable to collect. It's not like Turtles or Ghostbusters where you're collecting, hundreds of figures. There's probably only about 12 or 15 figures, so it's a manageable line. But some of the figures and their accessories can get a little pricey, but I'm only up to 5. I got 5 figures, but I ended up snagging a kind of promotional Filmation poster off of eBay for Brave Star that's going to look nice when it's all set up.
Oh, that's awesome. That's nice. Yeah, Brave Star, was that the one, the cowboy one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the cowboy one. Yeah. It's funny. I have the Brave Star figure that I got from our local toy guy Dave, and I have the villain. He has like that.
Texas.
Yeah, I have him. Those are the only 2 Brave Star stuff I have in my vintage toy collection. But I never really watched the show. Have you seen the show?
Yeah, it's pretty well done. I think the best part is the horse, that he rides on. The horse turns into like a bipod, and he's got this like big, like freaking cannon, and he stands up and talks, and it's pretty neat. And that's kind of like one of the key pieces that I'm looking for right now. But I guess it was made out of plastic, and the tail and with everything, it was just one of those figures that constantly broke. And so to find a figure in decent condition, with the horse, you're going to pay, upwards of $200 to $250. So just, got to wait for that right deal to come around.
Wow. I didn't know that they were that expensive. Oh, man.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of an obscure line. So, we've talked about this in the past when, you go into Food Fighters and you go into, some of the more obscure lines, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes or, anything like that, because it's obscure and it doesn't have the draw of like, the commons, like the Turtles and stuff like that, they get kind of pricey. So some of these smaller obscure lines can go for decent money.
Yeah, man, it's funny, man. There's a lot of cool. Okay, so somebody at work reminded me of this toy line, and I don't know if you remember it, So it was vehicles. They were made from, I don't know if it was Mattel or Micro Machines, but they were a little bit bigger. But they were vehicles that turned into weird animals. Do you remember that toy line?
No, because I remember the last time we talked, you were you were talking about Z-Bots, but like
Yeah.
I remember those, but I don't remember any sort of vehicles that turned into animals.
Okay, so they're really cheap to collect for some of them. So they were made from Hot Wheels. And if you want to look it up right now, it's called Attack Pack from 1992.
Okay.
Now, if you look at the image, you will see what I'm talking about. And I forgot about this line. I'm like, I need to collect some of these because I remember these when I was a kid. And I don't know how this just came brushed off my shoulder. Like it was Mattel Hot Wheels Attack Pack, and it was
Okay. Yes. I actually have one of these. I have the speedboat.
Ah, okay, okay. Yeah, there was a fellow toy collector at my job that works there, and he's like, Steve, do you have any Attack Pack from Mattel? And I'm like, Attack Pack? I'm like, I don't remember that toy line. And that was just another obscure toy line. Like, but yeah, they're pretty cheap. I mean, if you're looking for something, they're like 25, $30, depending on the vehicle itself or how rare it is. So,
well, a couple of them have hooks on the bottom of them. Didn't they? Wasn't there like a playset or something that had like a slingshot or, like a rubber band that you would hook on the back of them and then launch them forward? Or was that just for the transformation?
Actually, yes, I do remember that now. They have a little hook in the back. I'm actually looking at one of the vehicles right now.
Yeah.
Actually, most of the vehicles have hooks in the back, like you said.
Yeah, I thought for some reason, I don't know why it's sticking out of my head, but like that there was some sort of launching system that you could, put that on like a rubber band and then like launch them forward or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, or maybe it was just for the transformation. But yeah. These are definitely bringing back some memories. I don't think I had any. I have one, but like I think that was kind of like a fluke. Like it was probably in a bag of Hot Wheels or something that I got.
Yeah. It's funny. Like I totally forgot about that line, and I was like, man, that's one obscure line that I forgot about. And then I was telling you about Z-Bots, how Ben is collecting Z-Bots out there. Ben from Transformer Land, and he was telling me how like they're cheaper right now to collect for. You can probably get like a whole pack of them for like $35-$40. Apparently right now, since him and Jake run Transformer Land, there's been a lot of customers asking for them. So he was telling me, he's like, hey, you might want to jump on these now before they start getting more expensive. So
yeah, those were pretty cool with their little missiles and stuff like that. I remember those quite well. But I mean, yeah, so some of these obscure toy lines, I mean, it might not be a large line or be the most popular line, but there's still people out there that want to collect them. And I got to tell you, like, when I started looking into Brave Star, I mean, they were kind of ahead of their time, and Filmation and in general, some of the action features, and they're about the same size as like the Thundercats. So I mean, they're bigger figures. They're not the 3 3/4 scale. They're about 6 or 7 inches, and they're definitely well made. And but just like with anything, it's hunting down those stupid little accessories. And like I got the Tex Hex, but he's missing his hat. And of course, if you find one with the hat, it's going to be like $50 or $60 because the hat alone goes for like $30.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? Just the hat. Hey, how much for the underwear?
Right. So, but no, I mean, like it's kind of been, a good goal to work towards. So like I said, I got 2 more to add to the collection off of Facebook, the Facebook group. So those have kind of been helping out, especially since we don't have the flea markets anymore. And then I did score that. I sent you that message. I scored that Ghostbusters Zapper, but it was the mail away reel.
Oh yes, that was awesome.
Yeah, and the Zapper he sold it as untested, but the zapper actually worked, and I had a spare original reel. So hopefully I can just sell that for like $20 and recoup some of the money that I spent. But those mail away things, like as you remember in the 80s, you cut out the UPC and send in, $2 or whatever, and you can get a special item. Those mail away reels were really hard to find. So I was lucky enough to kind of snag one off of a Facebook or eBay posting that he didn't know it was the mail away. He just thought it was like the reel that came with it.
Oh, wow. Wow. That is a good, yeah. When you sent me that, I was like, get out of here. I had to jump off from my chair. I was like, man, that is such a great find, man. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, for not picking up anything for a while, but just getting that, I mean, like that's amazing. So
yeah. And I think that's just kind of like where I'm at right now. I mean, like we talked about earlier, it's getting closer to the holidays. So, you're buying presents, or you're kind of being a little bit more frugal. Us here that live in the Northeast, I have to start paying for oil for my house. So
yep. Same here.
So, you have to start, worrying about getting ready for snow and all this other stuff. So, the money that we spent in the summer is definitely not the money that we can spend now because of, kind of life necessities. But no, it's been nice to pick up a few things here and there, but definitely not as good as the summer. That's for sure.
That's funny. You bring up a good conversation topic because it's like that. So in the summertime, me and you, for those listening, me and Aaron frequent the same flea market every Sunday, and that's where we find most of our collectibles. But it's funny, like in the summertime, we're like bam, 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 bam. We're just like we're there religiously like we are there, like, and then like the fall comes, and then the winter, and for me, it's like. Not that I'm not still looking for toys, because I'm still looking for them on eBay, Target, Walmart. But it's not like during the summertime when we're at the flea market and it's a constant throughout the summertime. But it's true what you said, Aaron. Like during the wintertime, like we kind of died down a little bit. I mean, we're still searching, but it's not as hardcore because, my place where I live, my apartment, it's oil based. And, I had to drop $225 for oil today, just to keep the place warm. Hot water, and we got the holidays coming, so now I'm spending like money on this person and that person. So it's like, like I want to be selfish and buy everything for me right now.
Yeah.
But, with responsibilities, and obviously you have a son too, Aaron, and the holidays and everything. So yeah, for me, things kind of slowed down, but I will say, and I told you this this off the air before we started filming, my best pickup is gonna be this Sunday. Somebody on Facebook Marketplace was getting rid of a display glass shelf, really nice, full glass. The door slides, and the thing is that the guy put the price for $50, and I had to look at that again, and I'm like, okay. This thing cannot be 50. It has to be 300. There's something wrong here. So I sent the guy a message because I don't know if you know this, Aaron, but sometimes people on Facebook Marketplace, they'll be like, oh, it's free. And you're like, oh, free? But then when you scroll down, they put the actual price.
Right.
Or they'll be like, oh, $10. But then when you scroll down, there's a real price. So when I saw the price for 50, I was like, that's not real. So I scrolled down, and the price still said 50. So I messaged the guy, and he's like, yeah, you want this? $50. And I was like, oh my God, because I want to have all my collectibles in glass shelves, because I have to keep dusting off the bookshelves, dust. And I'm getting to the point now where it's like, okay, you know what? For $50, can't go wrong. I'm going to put all my 80s and 90s vintage toys in there, Ghostbusters, Turtles, whatever I have, it's going in there. So right now, that's the biggest pickup that I've done within the last month and a half. So
yeah, mine are still on bookshelves, and I think the only stuff that I had in a display case, and I got a funny story about a display case. I'll try to keep it short because I know we got a lot to talk about. But the only thing I have in like a display case was my original like Boba Fett collection. You know, that was the first collection that I started. You know, hell, that's got to be 15 years ago now. So, but yeah, so funny story about display case, kind of the same situation that you're in. I found a display case. I think back then it was on Craigslist because Facebook Marketplace wasn't a thing yet. And the guy was like, yeah, it was like $100, but I mean, it was nice. It was lighted. It had, you know, 4 shelves, and then it had like a storage underneath. You know, I think he said it was like a sunglasses display or something like that. Really, really nice shelf. So I ended up buying it. My buddy, we borrowed his van and picked it up, kind of similar situation. Well, I had just moved in with my girlfriend, which is now my wife. And I didn't tell her I was buying this, but I just moved in with her. So I ended up getting the display case and setting it up in the bedroom. And so she was still at work because it was a small apartment. There was a living room which we didn't have a lot of space in the bedroom, so it was like a really tiny apartment. So I put the display case up. It was all lit up. I put all my Boba Fett things in it, all my Star Wars stuff in it. And she came home from work, and she the first thing she said is, "What the hell is that?" You know, she goes, "I agreed for you to move in, but I don't know if I agreed to have Star Wars collectibles in the bedroom." So, needless to say, we had to have a little conversation, but the display case stayed where it was.
That is the most funniest story, man. It's like you move in with your girlfriend, and you know, obviously she probably already knew that you were a toy collector, so she goes off to work and you're like, this display case is cheap. Let me go pick this up. You know, mind you, the bedroom is like probably decorated with flowers and, you know, all this nice girly stuff. She comes back home and she just sees this bounty hunter all over the place, Boba Fett. Why is all this Star Wars stuff all over the bedroom? Oh, honey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, babe.
I moved in, you know, we got to change the bed sheets. We got to work, you know. We got to get the Star Wars bed sheets.
Listen, honey, you can keep your flower bed sheets over here, but we have to have a Millennium Falcon bed sheet also, okay?
So
that is good. That is hilarious. Aaron, that's like the best display case story that I've ever heard, man.
Yeah, it's a unique one, but needless to say, you know, it's funny because I went to Dave's store a couple weeks ago. I ended up getting some good stuff there too. So that, I mean, I guess since the last time we talked.
Yeah. So what'd you get at Dave's?
I got the Neutrona blaster from the original Real Ghostbusters line. It still had the green foam and you know, attached, so that was cool because I have the proton pack and the little popper from the original, but I didn't have the Neutrona blaster, so I added that to the collection. I got like $90 worth of Battle Beast.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I ended up getting quite a few more Battle Beasts to add to the collection. I think I'm only missing like 25 now out of like the original. I think there was like 80. So
wow.
Yeah, so I got I mean, obviously I'm missing quite a bit of the weapons, but and then a few odds and ends. You know, I started another random toy shelf. I don't know. I like the idea of just like having things from like my childhood or like things that kind of like make me happy. So I have like a couple shelves in my collection that just don't make any sense, and they're just kind of like random shelves. So I ended up getting like the Cyclops from Hercules, a Mario Brothers figure. Nice. Dave gave me a Toys R Us Jeffrey the giraffe.
Nice.
Just kind of like really random stuff. Gummy bears from the Disney's Gummy Bears cartoon.
I have a few of those.
Yeah, I mean, just random stuff. So no, it was good. So my wife and I made a little outing there, and kind of going back on that story, you know, my wife is very supportive of me and my collecting, and you know, so I guess, you know, they were having a conversation about like how like we were all having a conversation about how like some wives do not support the husbands, that they're there, and all of a sudden it's like, oh God, he's buying what? We don't have space for this, like he doesn't need another toy, but luckily my wife is very supportive of me and my collecting, and she was very happy with my pickups as well.
That's awesome, man. It's funny because it's like, as collectors, like, some people might look at us as like, oh my God, look at all the stuff you have. Like, oh, are you a hoarder? Or like, we always get the cliche 40-year-old virgin remark all the time. So it's good when you meet that special someone that either that person is into a collecting hobby themselves, or they just appreciate you for who you are, and that's awesome, because like, I know, as for me, I got a funny story where when I was dating a lot, I was texting this girl back and forth, and the girl's like, hey, take a picture of yourself and send it to me. So I'll take a picture of my face and send it to her. She goes, oh, send me one more. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is going to be so awesome. I'm just going to take a picture of myself with my toys in the background, right? So like, I literally get behind my Ninja Turtle shelf, send her a picture, and I never heard anything back after that.
Oh, no.
So, yeah. So, the opposite sex, some of them approve and some of them don't. But when you meet that special someone that does, you stay with them, because those are our very, very rare breed. And so,
yeah. Well, I found it. I was actually like, taken aback when we were there, because she was pointing out things. Like, she was looking at the Thundercats that Dave had, and she's like, oh, that's Cheetara. And I was like, oh my God. So like, and then she's like, oh, look at this one and look at that one. And like, I was like, oh my God, like, maybe she is paying attention when I talk about all my toy stuff. But yeah, so no, it was really cool. I mean, it was nice to kind of like share that experience, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, the thrift stores around here have been like super bare. I mean, maybe it's just because it's like the people are still maybe having, the last minute yard sales, and maybe they'll pick up. Because I know in the winter, I've always done really well in the winter time going to like Savers and stuff like that, because, you can't have a yard sale. You can't, sell it at a flea market. So a lot of people that kind of get that itch to clean or whatever, they just end up donating it. But recently the Goodwills and Savers and stuff have been really, really dry.
Yeah, it's so funny because I was telling myself my last weekend off, I was like, maybe I should hit up a Goodwill today. But it was like a rainy day, it was raining all day, and I got that laziness, and I was like, I'm just gonna play some PS4. Yeah. So, but like, hearing it from you that it's been bare bones, it's weird, man, because for us living in the Northeast, whereas we get the winter time, it's like the hunting becomes different. Whereas like summertime, you're in shorts, this and that, and then wintertime comes and it's, let me lace up my boots, get my snow tires ready, let me hit up this thrift store, and it could be a hit or miss, man. But now if we were living in Florida, I know when I used to live in Florida, there were swap meets, and man, it was, Florida is sunny, and I would go to that swap meet, and I was always finding stuff, man. Yeah, always finding stuff from Fort Lauderdale, man. And I think that's what I miss about like living out in like sunny Florida. And Aaron, you're from Florida too. Yeah. It's like it's sunny all the time, and most of the time you're gonna find something.
Well, let's dial that back a little bit. It's sunny most of the time.
Right.
You between 3 and 5 o'clock, it will always rain at some point. Yeah. Most mornings it will rain at some point. But yes, it is sunny most of the time. I will say that's the one thing I do miss, because I also I was a yard sale. I started finding toys, and video games and, collectibles and stuff, doing yard sailing when I lived down in Florida, probably, I guess at this point, it would probably be close to 20 years ago at this point. Um, and it was a lot of fun because every Saturday and Sunday you could wake up and be like, oh, I'm going to hit up yard sales. And that's normally where you would find decent items anyways, because, you know, the people selling at the flea markets and stuff, they're getting their inventory from the yard sales. So it's different because up here, you know, we have a season. You know, we have from, you know, March until, you know, late March, early April till October, and then it's done. You know, so from November to March, or, you know, November to February, we have to kind of resort to finding stuff, you know, other avenues. It's almost like you have to go into the black market during wintertime to find toys.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And, you know, usually during the wintertime, that's when I start hitting up like stores like Target, Walmart, because, you know, this is something that I wanted to bring up because one of my coworkers, I was talking to him, another fellow collector at work, and we were talking about, are you a vintage just collector or are you into modern? Because as collectors, you have one side that they just collect vintage toys, whether it's 70s, 80s, and 90s, and that's it. They don't do no modern, nothing that's modern. Me, I'm into both. I'm into vintage and modern. So, you know, right now, I guess I'm a buy collector of toys. Oh man, but yeah, you know, yeah, I go both ways with vintage and modern, and it's like, you know, some people just stick to vintage; they don't do nothing modern. But like, it's just like with modern, there's so much cool stuff out there coming out. You know, Mattel has a lot of good stuff coming out with their, you know, Masters of the Origins figures. You know, Hasbro with their Star Wars. You know, Ghostbusters. You know, then you got these second party toy lines like NECA, Super 7, the Snake Mountain just came out. And Evan, did you see the pictures and videos from Snake Mountain that just came out?
Well, did you see the size of the box?
Listen, that box is so big, I think that I can put you in it and ship you inside of it, all right? Like, the box is humongous. But here's the best part, because I saw Pixel Dan's review of Snake Mountain, is the fact that, like, the art that's in the box, there's a poster in the box of the same artwork. So if you were to throw away the box, that awesome artwork that's in that box, they give you a poster of it, which is amazing.
See, I think the thing with me and modern toys is that, like, for whatever reason, most modern toys that I buy, I don't open. Like, I don't know what it is. Call it like, maybe it's kind of being kind of like a trying to foresee the future with, like, you know, maybe with kind of what we're seeing with the vintage toys going, kind of how crazy they're going. A lot of the modern toys I don't open. I mean, I have, you know, like we've talked about this, the G.I. Joe Classified series. I have all those, but I have not opened up any of them, even though I really want to, because they photograph really well, and I see a lot of people do customs. And, you know, we talked about the guy that I met that makes the 3D printed stuff. And, you know, it's, I don't know. Anything modern, I just don't open. So, whereas like the vintage stuff, you very rarely find it, you know, in package anyways. So like there's more, for me, it's like there's more playability and there's more displayability with the vintage stuff for me, because like, it's like, oh yeah, you know, my son, you know, wants to go down and, you know, play with some Ninja Turtles. It's like, okay, here you go. But then he's like, Daddy, let's open the G.I. Joe. And I'm like, no.
Oh man, that is funny. Yeah, you know what? Like with modern, I kind of had the same issue as you, where it was like, okay, do I want to take it out the package or do I want to leave it in the package? And vintage toys back in the 80s, they had really cool packaging, so like if I get a package with an artwork, let's say Ninja Turtles, and it's the Technodrome, and I'm like, man, the artwork, because let's face it, the graphic design and some of the artwork that was done back then still holds up to this day.
Oh, absolutely.
It holds up very, very well. Same thing with like NEX box art. Some of the box art on some of the NES games were just amazing. As a matter of fact, there's a documentary right now being worked on by Rob McCullum. Rob McCullum did a documentary, Nintendo Quest, which is on Amazon Prime. And Nintendo Quest was a documentary where his best friend had to collect every single Nintendo game, even stadium events, without using the internet, without using eBay. He had to go out there and hunt them. I'm watching it for the second time again. And Aaron, if you have not seen Nintendo Quest, written and produced by Rob McCollum, it's on Amazon Prime for free. So check out Nintendo Quest. But they're actually doing another documentary called Action Figure Adventure. I just saw the trailer to that. I think I sent it on the group chat with you and Dave. Yeah. So that's coming out soon too, man. But yeah, man, the just like the artwork. Going back to the artwork. Sorry, I got off on a tangent there. Yeah, artwork is awesome, and I think like now with the modern stuff is, for example, like G.I. Joe, the Hasbro Classified series. If you turn over to the back, they have some pretty awesome artwork. And I'm just like, I don't want to throw this box away because the artwork is just amazing.
Some people are selling the empty boxes just for that reason. Like, I mean, I will tell you that on the side, because I was able to snag that Baroness bike a few weeks ago. We talked about that.
Yes.
That Baroness art on the side of the box, if you've not seen that, it's fantastic. And, I think you're right. That there is like this like artwork, and it's almost like, I think with the modern stuff, at least for me, is it's already kind of in a displayed, form, whereas like, you could put it on a shelf and just let it sit there and it looks great. A lot of the older 80s toys, they were on hang tabs, so it's very hard to display it, where the new toys, either they come in boxes, like even the Marvel Legends. I know you've been getting into the Marvel Legends. They're on hang tabs, but the bottom of the boxes are kind of like this trapezoid, so you could just stand them up and display them that way.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's true what you're saying, Aaron, like most modern toys right now, it's true. It's like they're already coming out in the box as displayed, especially for NECA. Like I got my Super Shredder, and man, the box that the Shredder comes in, the artwork, the box, everything, it's just a display itself. And it's sitting on my glass case still inside the box because I just don't want to open it.
Right.
I don't want to open it. It's already displayed. And Toka and Razar, I pre-ordered those 2 months ago, and they're getting shipped out now. And like, I just saw the artwork on the NECA site, and I'm just like, I'm not even taking these guys out either because they're already on the display box.
Right.
So
But see, like, part of me would want to, because, like, I told you, like, I want to start creating those dioramas, and, like, part of me would want to like, recreate those scenes from the movies, especially, like, because didn't Toka and Razar come with, like, the donuts?
Yes, they did.
Right. And so it's like, donut. Like, I don't know. I, for some reason, would want to create that, like, scene and, like, I don't know, make some sort of, like, little arena so that they're fighting,
First of all, let me tell you how ridiculous that scene is. So, Aaron, obviously we watched Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. But that scene, every time I watch that, it just boggles my mind that, all right, they got the turtles. They're trapped, okay? Tatsu and Shredder are there. They released Toka and Razar, right? Everything is going according to Shredder's plan. And then out of nowhere, I think it was Donatello or Leonardo is like, wait a minute. We have to do the traditional pre-fight donut. Yeah, yeah. It's a traditional. It's a traditional thing in the ninja art to have a pre-fight donut. Now, I'm watching this scene, and I'm just thinking to myself, if I was Shredder, I'm like, why would you let them go through this? Just throw a spear, do something. Like, you're literally letting these turtles like go through with their plan of having a traditional pre-fight donut. Like, what the hell is going on?
Oh man, that was the sequel for you. It had to be funnier. It couldn't be as dark, because you got to think, like, the first movie. I mean, we've talked about this before. The original Ninja Turtles, that shit was dark. It was dark, but it was, the comic books. The comic books were dark, and that's. But it was so successflike, and then all of a sudden you went from this really dark movie to kind of this like fun-loving, like ha ha ha, and like, especially at the beginning of Ninja Turtles 2, because I just watched it recently with my son, like, where I think it's like Donatello pretends to be like the little punching bag in the store,
Yeah.
And it's like kind of like, okay, well, this is definitely different than the first movie, and then you get to Ninja Turtles 3, which is a total debacle all in itself. But
we shall never speak of that awful.
It's like speaking about the prequels in Star Wars. Like, no, like, we're just gonna stick to the original.
Wait, Aaron, what's Ninja Turtles 3?
Yeah. It's like Fight Club. Rule number 1, don't talk about Fight Club. Rule number 1, don't talk about Ninja Turtles 3.
Oh, man. What were you going to say? I'm sorry, man.
No, I was going to say, speaking of Ninja Turtles, though, I know you wanted to talk about The Last Ronin.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so for my second pickup, I got the display case and I pre-ordered the second printing of the Last Ronin comic book, and I didn't want to do this because I'm not getting the comic till like December, even though it's already out. But I ended up pre-ordering it from this comic book website, and I guess the website where I ordered it, they're waiting for more printouts to come so that I can get my copy. So I gotta wait to December, and I couldn't wait any longer. So, spoiler alert, I went online on YouTube and saw what the story is based on the first issue. Now, Aaron, would you like to hear it, or do you just want our listeners to just pick up the comic book and read it for themselves?
I mean, I think we could talk about it. I mean, you've already said spoiler alert. I mean,
True.
If somebody could fast forward through it. I mean, I kind of know the basic concept of The Last Ronin, but I don't know what this new comic book kind of spin on it is. So yeah, let's get the lowdown.
All right, so like Aaron said, if you guys are listening to this right now and you don't want to hear what's happening in the first issue of the comic, then fast forward. Okay, this is a spoiler moment for The Last Ronin. All right, so obviously the Last Ronin story was a story written by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird back in the 80s, actually, and the storyline was that all the turtles are gone besides one turtle who's living. That one turtle that's living is carrying all his brother's weapons. So Donatello's bow staff, Leonardo's size, I say Leonardo's size, Raphael's size, Leonardo's katana, and Michelangelo's nunchuck. So this last brother is carrying all the weapons, but we don't know which turtle it is. Now, obviously, his family is gone, and it's a futuristic New York City, and he's trying to find the person that got rid of his family. So now that everybody knows what the plot line is, let's get into the first issue. So in the first issue, it starts off with one of the turtles. Again, we don't know which turtle it is, and he's talking to himself, and he's narrating to himself where it's a futuristic New York City, and he's trying to get to not Shredder's name, and correct me if I'm wrong, is Orokusaki?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess in this storyline, somebody took over for Sati, and it's Hamato something. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to remember. I just watched the spoiler like 4 days ago, but it's Hamato something. And now Hamato has these robots. Again, it's the future. And this turtle is trying to get to Hamato because Hamato has something to do with why his whole family, Splinter and the turtles, the rest of his brothers are gone. So in the first issue, we get this turtle walking around futuristic New York. He gets into a lot of fights. He fights some of those robots, and in one of the battles, he's up in this building and he's fighting some of these robots, and he gets kicked off the building, and he falls all the way down and hits the floor. Now, somebody picks him up, and it's a female, and he wakes up, and when he wakes up, he looks at the female. Lo and behold, who do you think it is, Aaron?
I would assume it's April.
Ding, 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 ding. It is April O'Neil. So here's the spoiler alert again. If you don't want to listen to this, fast forward right now. So, spoiler alert, April looks at this turtle and says, Michelangelo. And that's how the first issue ends.
Oh, shit.
So here's what I got from this. First of all, kudos to Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, because the reviews that I've been hearing from this comic book have been amazing. They took the storyline and it took it back to that gritty, old school, rugged, adult-based turtle story. A lot of people are saying that it reminds them of the original Mirage comic book that came out. It has that gritty feel. Now, this is what I think. I think that even though April says Michelangelo, again, I haven't got my pre-order of the comic issue yet, but I'm thinking that that turtle is not Michelangelo.
Okay.
This is just me. For any of you guys listening, this is not what's gonna happen in the storyline. I'm just saying this off a whim. I think that in this first issue, April said that just to get the reader to be like, oh man, like it has to be Michelangelo now, but maybe it's another turtle. Maybe April has that turtle confused, because remember, this turtle is not wearing the traditional bandana, whereas like in the cartoon and in the movies, they had like the colors. Oh, Raphael was red, Leonardo was blue, Donatello was purple, Michelangelo was orange. This turtle isn't wearing that. So April is just going by off the behavior, characteristics, fighting technique. So I don't know. I'm very curious. I think that was a good cliffhanger to, leave the first episode, the first comic books episode on. But that's amazing. That is amazing, man. So that's literally what happens in the first issue.
That's awesome. And that, I was going to ask because I didn't know, at least the pictures that I saw, I remember the originals in the original comic, they all wore red. There was no distinguished, all the Ninja Turtles had the red bandanas. At least the pictures that I saw, I thought that they kind of went back to that because I thought he was wearing a red one, even though it might not be Raphael. I thought that there was a red bandana. I was kind of thinking when you said he's not wearing a bandana, I was like, and it's like set in this like futuristic setting. It's like Terminator, but with Metalhead. Like I was thinking, oh, it's Metalhead, but he's got some sort of like skin on him, like he killed all four of the turtles and he got this like cybernetic skin and he's got, now he's in disguise like the Terminator.
That is. Can somebody just make that? Can we get that into a comic book, please? Like, I would like to see that into a comic book, man. No, Aaron. That's a good question. I just went online right now just to double check to see if the turtle was actually wearing a bandana. He's not wearing anything, and it's just a hoodie over his face. Okay. Yeah. I just double checked right now. Yeah, it's just a hoodie. And actually, they're showing that one comic panel with April and the turtle waking up, and it's just like regular turtle face. So, okay. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Hey, listen, man, I would love to see a movie of this. That would be amazing, man. Like,
Well, there
oh,
was
go
some
ahead.
there was some news recently that I think, I don't know whether I saw it online or somebody sent it to me, but that they're talking about rebooting the original movie.
Oh yes, I sent that to you guys on our group chat. Yeah, so the original producers of the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle film, they were asked a question where, hey, would you guys be interested in doing another turtle film? And they're very interested. As a matter of fact, they're trying to. But what I love about it is that they're still going to be stuck in the 90s. They want it to be set in the same timeline.
Yeah.
So I guess what the producers, and I literally, my mind went blank. I forgot one of the producers' name, and I should know this. But I guess what they were saying is that they wanted to be a continuation of Turtles 2. I don't think that they want to like continue from Turtles 3, but if they do continue from Turtles 3, that would be canon. But what I love about it is that they want the suits back. They want the suits back, but they're not opposed to CGI, meaning that like they want guys in suits doing martial arts. They want the heads, but if they have to use CGI for a few things in the faces, it's okay. But
Yeah.
they want to bring back the Jim Henson suits. And that to me blew my mind because, Seth Rogen is already doing a new Turtles movie, but that's going to be all CGI. But I
Yeah.
will tell you this. If this comes into fruition, a live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie sequel, still set in the 90s. Not only that, but Jim Henson's son, which is Ben Henson, he's still alive right now, and he will be in charge of the turtle suits. So not only do you have the original producers, the son of the original costume maker, and having it set in the 90s, this movie for turtle fans will make a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
This will make a lot of money. And you know what? It's going to be for us guys in our 30s, 35, who grew up with turtles, who grew up with the 1990 film. I mean, I was 7, 8 years old when that film come on. I remember going to the theaters to watching that, and I was mind blown when I saw the turtles. So it's like you're gonna get a lot of people that are gonna go out in theaters, and it will make a lot of money. And even for the new generation, even the new generation that's like didn't grow up watching that in theaters, but grew up watching it on VHS or on Netflix or like any streaming service and watching the original. I think that if they do this, it will be a moneymaker, man.
Yeah. I mean, I like, and I think we talked about this previous episodes, briefly, but even the new Nickelodeon series is phenomenal. I was actually really taken aback by that, because I really didn't like the new movies with Megan Fox. I mean, I watched them, but I was like, they're all right. I didn't like the design of the turtles. I think because, like you and I, we lean more towards that kind of original, stuff. But, I like that idea of mixing the real, costumes with the CGI, because look at what George Lucas did with the original Star Wars. That's pretty much what he did. He made the costumes and the aliens and the sets and stuff like that, and then added CGI where it was needed. And, when J.J. Abrams took over the Star Wars franchise, he went back to that kind of, we need to build these massive props and we need to build these massive sets and we need to, make these costumes from scratch and stuff like that, because it adds just a certain, gives that film that kind of cutting edge that you need with the CGI, but it brings it back to reality with the costumes. And, I mean, we all know that those original costumes, the Jim Henson costumes, were phenomenal. And then they kind of got a little goofy and a little more goofy in Turtles 2 and 3. But, Turtles 2 still to this day, with the exception of a few little minor things, is a great movie, and the way that they did it in the live action and everything. I mean, that took a lot of work. I mean, somebody had to make the Toka and Razor costumes, and that's just not. It's almost like a lost art.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with you, Aaron. Where Turtles 2 is a great film, Turtles 1 was gritty, dark, man. And for those listening right now, here's a fun fact for those of you that don't know. The first Turtles film was produced in association with Golden Harvest. Now, if you guys do not know the production company Golden Harvest, and the only reason why I know all this is because I'm a martial artist, was into martial arts, still am into martial arts, and grew up watching Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, love martial art films. I'm a big martial art films fanatic as well. But, Golden Harvest produced Enter the Dragon. They produced all the Jackie Chan films, the Bruce Lee films. Golden Harvest was known for all Hong Kong action, and Hong Kong action in the 80s and 90s. I hate to say this, man, but it's an actual fact. Martial art fight scenes in Hong Kong do not compare to martial art fight scenes in the US. These guys are falling off 30, 40-foot buildings, doing somersaults. Like, just watching Jackie Chan Hong Kong films, the way they do their fight scenes, it's way different. Here in the US, you have such tight close-ups. Everything's a close-up, where in Hong Kong, they push the camera back because they want you to see the whole action. They want you to see that guy do that barrel flip into a window or whatever. Like, they want you guys to be like, hey, that stunt guy, he did that for real. So Golden Harvest, what ended up happening was nobody wanted to pick up this Turtles film. Nobody. So finally, they got some money. I think it was $2 million from Golden Harvest to produce the first Turtles film. And that's why New Line Cinema, when you watch the first Turtles film, it says Golden Harvest presents a New Line Cinema, because the agreement that was set upon was, if they needed more money to finish this movie, again, they got the money from Golden Harvest to do the Turtles film. They wanted to get Hong Kong stuntmen in the suits. If they needed more money, the deal was it had to be distributed internationally, not just in Hong Kong. The deal was, hey, we're going to give you this money, but you have to get this film distributed in the US as well. So they got the money from Golden Harvest, but now they needed a US-based production company to set this movie out. And that is where New Line Cinema, again, I know I'm hitting you guys with a lot of knowledge here on film, but New Line Cinema back then was known for what? Who was that monster that got us in our dreams? You remember
Freddy?
who it was, Aaron? Yes. Sorry, I left you there. I was trying to do like a little quiz there. Yes, New Line Cinema was known for the Freddy Krueger films, and they made a lot of their money from the Freddy films. So, New Line didn't have to put in the money to produce the movie, but they distributed the movie in the US, and hence we get Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 1990 film, because Golden Harvest, Hong Kong, giving the money, and New Line Cinema distributing it out in the US, man. There's a great interview with, I think it's Robbie Hurst or Robbie something, the producer of the Turtles film on YouTube. So check that out if you haven't seen that. But yeah, man, I love Turtles, man. Turtles is one of my franchises, and you know this, Aaron, man. Like, I'm looking at my toy collection right now. I have Ninja Turtle soap, Ninja Turtle socks, Ninja Turtles. Oh, man, which is going to bring me to our next segment where, Aaron, I'm super excited about this because we are getting cartoon shows from our era from the 90s being reboot. Animaniacs is coming back on Hulu November 20th. If you have not seen the trailer to Animaniacs. Check it out, man. Like I grew up, and I know you grew up on Animaniacs too, Aaron. And man, Animaniacs. I was watching the old episodes on Hulu, and man, the writing was hilarious. They had great staff writers on that show, man. Do you remember Animaniacs?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was kind of the get home from school. Was it Warner Warner Brothers.
Yep.
WB Kids or whatever it was. I forgot. It was like Tasmania, Animaniacs. That cartoon block in the afternoon, and yeah, I mean, Pinky and the Brain. I mean, there were so many good little shows, like the mini shows that came out of Animaniacs. The pigeon. What was it? The pigeons, and I mean, there was all kinds of. I mean, and it was just one of those shows that kind of was way ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was so ahead of its time, and the writing was so good, man. Like I remember Good Idea, Bad Idea, The Wheel of Morality, and Animaniacs. One of their best things was that there was always singing, and I think that's what stood out a lot about that show, where Yakko or Wacko will be singing a song about the United States, and they'll be like Connecticut, or there's always a song So they will always go into these little musical things, and Animaniacs was known for that, and just the great writing, man. Because, like you said, it was Steven Spielberg was involved in Animaniacs, and then you had this whole Warner Brothers thing that Spielberg was involved. Animaniacs, Freakazoid, and yes, Tiny Toon Adventures is coming back, and I am so excited, Aaron. You can't even understand. Tiny Toons is coming back, but it's gonna be called Tiny Toons Looniversity.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's coming back on HBO Max, man. But they're getting all the writers back. All the original people are coming back. But I just went online the other day, and I guess there's this whole controversy because C. Summer, who's the voice actor who played Elmira. Do you remember Elmira in Tiny Toons?
Oh yes, I want to hug them and squeeze them and love them forever.
Yeah, so I guess a lot of fans are already mad that she's not coming back. Because also she did the voice for Slappy Squirrel on Animaniacs. And I didn't know that. Do you remember Slappy Squirrel on Animaniacs? Was that old lady squirrel that will hit everybody with her purse?
Yeah.
So I guess C. Summer did the voice for that. So she's not involved in Animaniacs, and she's not involved she's involved in Animaniacs, but not Tiny Toons. And I guess the reason for that is because it has to do with some rights, because Animaniacs has Pinky and the Brain, and since she also did the voice for Elmira and Pinky and the Brain, which is a part of Animaniacs, and also Slappy Squirrel is a part of Animaniacs, there's something with the contract and the licensing rights right now. There's an issue when it comes to her being on Tiny Toons, which I'm a little confused by that, because Spielberg and Warner Brothers, they're all involved in Animaniacs, Freakazoid, and Tiny Toons. So who knows what's going on there? But that's kind of the little gossip thing that's going on right now, where people are just like, oh man, we want Elmira back. But man, let me tell you something, man. Aaron, is there an episode of Tiny Toons that you remember?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, there's probably not. I can't recall an episode, but I mean, I just remember. I think. Sorry, it's I'm trying to access that memory bank. I think for me, I watched a bunch of the episodes. I could probably still do the theme song. I mean, there's still a lot of memories, but I played the NES cartridge of Tiny Toon Adventures probably more than any other game. That was I don't know, for whatever reason, when I was little, that was my go-to game. And, that theme song hits, and we're tiny, we're toony, and it's just one of those shows, again, that I can't recall a particular episode, but I mean, the characters and, all the kind of hijinks that they get into was just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, it's iconic, man. So, Aaron, there is an episode, right? And it's called Mr. Popular's Mr. Popular's Cool School for Cool. Okay, it's on YouTube. So in this episode, it's Buster Bunny, and
Yeah.
he's teaching kids how to be cool. Right. So the first episode is like Hampton Pig, and like he's not cool, and he's trying to learn how to be cool. But I guess he goes to a school dance, right? And as he's at the dance, out of nowhere, like he bumps into like a record player or something, and the record player does like a DJ scratch. It's like shaka, right? And then out of nowhere, like some girls like, whoa, who is that pig with that cool sound, right? So then like you see Hampton just like scratching like chicka chicka chirp chick 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 chick, and like that awful 90s hip hop beat, and all the kids are dancing, and all you hear is like, ooh, get down with your bad piggy self, right? And
Yeah.
it's such a hilarious episode because in that episode they make fun of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So in this episode, so Plucky Duck and Hampton Pig, Plucky is a huge fan of a show called Immature Radioactive Samurai Slugs, right? And they're watching the show, and Plucky's like, here's the theme song, and oh my god, you gotta go on YouTube and just watch this, Aaron. It's on YouTube. But when the song hits, I could not stop laughing because the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle song is like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they're the boys with fearsome fighting. All right. So in immature radioactive samurai slugs, the song is like, we're immature radioactive samurai slugs. We fight for what's right and what's really slimy. We're totally awesome dudes. Kawabanga homeboys with nothing to lose. And I was losing my mind. So in the theme song, there's a count off, right? Where they start naming their names. And this is where I told myself, oh my God, the writing in this show is amazing because we all know that the turtles are named after Renaissance artists, right?
Yeah.
So these slugs do a count off and they're naming off their names, and you hear count off, right? And the count off is this: Warhol, Picasso, Rockwell, Grandma Moses. And I lost my shit. If you hear, they're all artists. Warhol is an artist. Picasso is an artist. Norman Rockwell is a famous artist here from Massachusetts. And then Grandma Moses, I had to look that up. Grandma Moses was this old artist. She was an old lady. They're all named after artists. And I just lost my mind when they said their names because I'm like, Warhol, Picasso, Rockwell, and Grandma Moses.
That's great.
It's great, man. And then the funny thing is that in that episode, once the episode is over, Aaron, so again, it's Buster Bunny teaching an audience how to be cool, right? So after this immature radioactive samurai slug episode is over, it cuts back to Buster Bunny, and he's on stage with a mic, and he's like, is there anybody in the audience that has any questions about being cool, right? And out of nowhere, a Ninja Turtle pops up, and it's Michelangelo. It's Michelangelo, but he has Raphael's size, right? And Buster Bunny's like, yeah, what's your question? And Michelangelo's like, what if like, Mr. Cool, what if like you have a show and like you're so into the show and then like you buy everything and all the merchandise and then like you're spending all your money on like toys, figures, and t-shirts? Oh, is that cool? And then Buster Bunny's like, no, that is stupidity. And then Michelangelo's like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to return all this Mr. Popular merchandise then.
That's great.
Aaron, if you haven't watched it, you gotta check it out, man. So I am so excited that Tiny Toons is coming back, man, because I just feel like the writing on that show was just amazing, man. But hey, you mentioned the NES, you mentioned Tiny Toons. So this gets into our next segment about a video game console. Aaron, did you know that the PS2 just turned 20 years old?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me that I'm old.
Hey, it can almost go out for a drink.
Yeah. One more year.
One more year, man. Yeah, 20 years old with the PlayStation 2, man. And it's like, wow. Like, I just can't believe it that it's been 20 years. Aaron, do you have any fond memories of the PS2?
Yeah, I mean, that was that was probably, I want to say it was probably one of the first consoles that I probably bought myself. And Gran Turismo, I probably played more hours on Gran Turismo than I knew what to do. And funny story about that was me and my buddy Paul that grew up with me across the street. We were big into cars. We were big into, Gran Turismo came out. It was the first kind of like, yeah, you had Gran Turismo 1, Gran Turismo 2 for the PlayStation 1. But when Gran Turismo 3 came out for the PlayStation 2, the races, that was like the first time that I remember doing like endurance races where like it would be like 4 hours. Like you would have to race a race for several hours.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean there was no getting around it, whatever. So we kind of were like, well, can we rig the controller? Because like the one race was just an oval track, right? And like in Gran Turismo, there's no car damage. There's no, like it's realistic in the sense that you have to, like, you have tires and it's a real car, like it's a car that you can drive in the real world. But like other than that, like there's no like damage to the cars, at least in Gran Turismo 3. So we rigged the controller. We put like a chair on the X button to make it drive, and we used like rubber bands to like make sure that the car would always turn right. So it would like just barely right. So like it would hit the wall and kind of bounce off, and hit the wall and bounce off. And so, because like if you finish this 4-hour race, you got a bunch of money, and then you got this car that you could sell for a bunch of money, and then like you were set to like continue your game. So we rigged this controller up so that we could walk away and like play outside for a few hours and come back, and we're like, okay, he's still driving. Like we'd have to check it like every like couple, like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and be like, okay, he's still driving, like we're good. Maybe make a pit stop every once in a while to like get some new tires. But like it was really funny to like that was the first kind of like hack for like the controller. But yeah, I mean, PlayStation 2, there were so many good games. I mean, Kingdom Hearts and just I don't even know. I mean, Final Fantasy 10, Final Fantasy 10-2. I mean, there was just so many. The game library for the PlayStation 2 is still one of the most. I mean, I don't know that it's gotta be 800 to 1,000, if not more games. I mean, there's so many games for the PlayStation 2 because it was a powerful game console. SOCOM, I remember playing that game. That was like Call of Duty before Call of Duty. You had to use the network adapter and like connect it to like your mom's modem, or whatever, and had to dial it up. And that back then you didn't have to pay for the internet service. It was free as long as you bought the network adapter. And I remember playing SOCOM quite a few hours of that game online. Funny, this is the Serial Box Prize podcast. I remember the clan that I was in back when when we were playing SOCOM, we were the serial killers, and each of us had like a name, like Captain Crunch, Count Chocula, all this other stuff. So like it was funny because back then, if you weren't in a clan, on the game, those were like your buddies that you played with, and that's how you kind of moved up the leaderboards and stuff. So you had to restart the game and create, your new name so that you could have the same like clan tag as like your friends that you're playing with.
That is hilarious. That is awesome, man. And yeah, I just looked up. There's 1,850 games in the PlayStation 2 library. Now,
Yeah.
that is not counting variants. The entire collection is comprised of sealed first editions or black bar PS2 games. So even though there's 1,850 games, remember, we're not including the variants, the Japanese. So that's a
Right.
lot of games to collect for.
Yeah. And a lot of them are probably shit.
Yeah.
A lot of them are probably bad. Like I bet you there's 100 football games like the Maddens and stuff like that. You got
Right.
the FIFAs. You have the I'm sure there was a bunch of fishing games and but there's a lot of hidden gems on the PlayStation 2. And I think we had talked about this in previous podcasts about like what's going to be collectible and stuff like that. I mean, the PlayStation 2 is 20 years old, so you got to figure the kids that are hitting their 30s right now or just about to hit their 30s, that's what they grew up with. That was their first game console. That was what mom and dad were playing, when they were young kids. Was like, oh, well, let's wake up and play PlayStation. Like my son, his first game console was the Switch, So like, it's kind of weird thinking about that. Like, 30 years down the road, he's going to say, oh, my first game console was the Switch. Well, these kids now are becoming adults. That's what's becoming hot right now is the PlayStation 2, the Wii, the that era of gaming. They're wanting to relive that nostalgia.
Yeah, that's it. It's crazy, man, because like, you mentioned about being old, but I was 18 20 years ago, and
Right.
just thinking about that, I'm 30 now, and I'm like, wow, I was 18 years old when the PS2 came out. And it's true, there were so many awesome games, man. Like, for me, the best game on that system was Resident Evil 4, man. Resident Evil 4 for me, just, I don't know, man. Like, I know it's been ported to like the GameCube and a bunch of other systems, and even remastered for like, like the PS4, but like, I don't know, man. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. It has not been remastered for the PS4, but the Resident Evil 4 did come out on the PS4. It hasn't really been a remastered version yet, like Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 3. But yeah, man, the PS2, man, and you know what? I have a PS2, and I popped in a couple games, and it still holds up pretty well till now.
Yeah. I mean, there's phenomenal games. Star Wars Battlefront. One of the games I remember playing a lot for whatever reason, my ex-girlfriend, when we were in high school and stuff like that, she wasn't big into games, but for whatever reason, we played the hell out of Gauntlet Dark Legacy. It was like, it was an arcade port, and we played that game for hours. I mean, that game was kind of one of those, action adventure, kind of shoot 'em ups. And one thing that I do remember that pissed me off though, because I was 16 when the PlayStation 2 was released, so I probably used some of my earnings from the summer jobs or whatever to buy it that year. I remember I got the PlayStation 2, I bought a game, and I got it home and I started playing. I played for like maybe an hour, and then it said, "Do you want to save?" And I clicked yes. And it goes, "Please insert a memory card." I was like, what? Because like, I don't know, for what I know PlayStation 1 had memory cards, but I don't think the PlayStation 1 memory cards were compatible with the PlayStation 2 discs because like the memory was too big. So you had to go get a PlayStation 2 memory card. And I remember being like, what the hell? So I had to go back to the store, and memory cards back then were not cheap either. They were probably $20 or $30, and for an official memory card. And I had to go back to the store and buy a damn memory card in order to play the damn game.
It boggles my mind how far we've come in gaming consoles, where we went from the NES, and then the NES had a chip, a saving chip actually. For I think Zelda had a saving chip on it.
Yeah, certain games they came with a battery inside.
Yeah, they came with a battery inside. I know Super Nintendo did the same thing, and then we get into the later 16-bit and the later generations where PlayStation you needed a card, and it's funny when the PS3 came out when you didn't need a card anymore, you can just save the game. It's all internal memory,
Right.
and it's just awesome how far console gaming has come from Pong to Atari to Commodore 64, Nintendo, and now we're getting into Aaron, and I might be mistaken, but is this our fifth generation of gaming coming up? I think it is, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like if you want to think of it from, I mean, it could technically be the sixth because, like, if you think of PlayStation, right? There was the Nintendo was before the PlayStation. Maybe even seventh because the Atari was before the Nintendo. Because we've had, we're coming up on the fifth version of the PlayStation. Because unlike Xbox, PlayStation named it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there's it's funny, if you watch The Big Bang Theory, I'm a big fan of that show, and Sheldon is out to dinner with his girlfriend, and he's talking about why he was debating whether or not to get a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One. And he's like, PlayStation, they had the 1, 2, 3, and then the 4. Xbox went from the Xbox to the Xbox 360 to the Xbox One. And it's like, why wouldn't they name it the Xbox 720? and it was just, or the Xbox 361, I mean, like, it's just funny, like Xbox in their console naming versus PlayStation in their console naming. So, like, if you want to think of, like, okay, PlayStation, we're in the fifth generation of PlayStation, but before that you had Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Atari, So, yeah, I'd say we're probably closer to, like, the seventh or eighth, maybe even eighth generation of games.
You hit the nail on the head because I have it up right now. We are in the eighth generation because first generation is 1972 to 1984. Second generation is 1976 to 1992. Third generation is 1983 to 2003. Fourth generation is 87 to 2004. Fifth generation is 93 to 2005. Sixth generation is 98 to 2013. Seventh generation is 2005 to 2017. And the eighth generation is 2012 to present. So yeah, that makes sense. We are in the eighth, and now we got the upcoming consoles, which will put us pretty much in the ninth generation. And wow, just thinking of that right now. So here, this boggles me right now. So first generation was 1972 to 84. So
right.
From 72 to 84. Now, NES came out what? 85, 88?
And no, NES, I want to say NES came out in 83, but I could be wrong.
So technically, if you think about it, Aaron, we're right around the first/second generation.
Yeah.
As us as kids, growing up with the NES, and wow, that makes me feel really old right now.
NES came out in 85, so yeah. So that would have, like, I was born in 84, you were born in 82, I'm guessing.
So we are like second generation.
Yeah.
Or second generation. So,
but that's what,
wow.
like I was saying, like, when I grew up, I remember my dad having an Intellivision, that was kind of like,
yeah.
And that was my first gaming console, was the Intellivision, and then we got the NES, and so that was kind of like, the NES was my first console, but the first console that I played was the Intellivision. And then, like, my son, like, just to think about how far we've come, my son, like I said, his first, gaming system that he played was the Switch.
Wow. And when your son gets older, he grew up with Switch graphics,
right.
And wow, man. It's funny that you went from Intellivision and, we went from Atari and to 8 bits. You know, and I think for us growing up is the bits were changing, the graphics, like, oh my God, we went from 8-bit to 16 bits. Now that's a big jump because you can tell the difference in the graphics, you know. And then like when we started getting into the Dreamcast and, you know, the PlayStations, and it's like, you know, I always say this to this day. I'm happy that we grew up in the generation that we grew up because we appreciate the things that we have now, how technology, you know, like everything in general, you know, cassette tapes, VHS, video games, toys. It's the 80s. Well, oh, I'm sorry, Aaron, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Finish your thought and then I'll jump in.
No, I was just gonna say that like us growing up, like honestly, I'm very thankful and happy that I was conceived when I was conceived. And that, you know, I was born in 82 and just I remember like 1987, 88, 89. Even though I was born in the 80s, I was raised in the 90s, but I still remember like things from the 80s, 87, 88, you know, 89. Like I remember watching Ghostbusters 2 in 1989, the commercials. I remember 1987 just watching stuff. So it's like, I'm very appreciated at the fact that we come from that era, you know. So
and it was funny. I posted a meme about this the other day on Facebook, and you know, the meme was basically a little girl says, Alexa, play Let It Go, you know, and then it goes into kind of like, well, you know, if I wanted to hear a song when I was growing up, I had to call the radio station. I had to wait 30 minutes to talk to somebody. I had to request my song. Then I had to wait another hour to 2 hours for my song to be played. And hopefully I was sitting by the cassette player to press record on the cassette so that I could record the song from the radio. You know, and you know, thinking about, because I remember doing that. I'm sure you did it too. Yep. You know, and you know, you had to sit and like be patient and wait, and there wasn't this sense of instant gratification. And you know, we didn't have downloads, we didn't have, you know, and I'm not trying to say that it's a bad thing, but I think that there's a difference, you know, in mentality, because you and I have a very different mentality than kids growing up, you know, with today's technology. And you know, there's certain things about going to a store, buying a game, or you know, maybe it's being released, like when Mario Brothers 3 was released, you know, everybody wanted it and sold out. You know, you almost had to like hunt to find a damn video game, you know. And you know, now it's just like, oh, let me go on the App Store and download it. Or now it's like, let me just boot up this, you know, let me go on Amazon and order it. You know, with the songs, you can listen to things on YouTube, Alexa, whatever, you know, or you could just go on the App Store and download the song and it's like, yep, it's there, you know. So I think I agree with everything that you said, that, you know, we were, you know, very lucky to grow up in the era that we did and to kind of see this evolution. But it's even curious to see like how much farther this is going. I mean, VR was kind of a thing. Like I remember going to the malls back in the day and like messing around with virtual reality, you know, and now, you know, you have PlayStation VR, you have Oculus, you have, you know, a lot of these virtual reality, you know, in the house now that are relatively affordable. They're no more expensive than a PlayStation 3 back in the day. I mean, or what was it? Was the PlayStation? Did PlayStation 3 have Yeah, PlayStation 3 had Blu-ray, right?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I remember when PlayStation 3 first came out, it was like $800 or $900.
Yeah, and it was.
The reason for that was because that was the cheapest Blu-ray player on the market at the time. Because I remember Blu-ray players, you know, back, you know, when they first came out were like $1,200.
Yeah, that's insane.
And so everybody bought the PlayStation 3. Not necessarily because it was a gaming system, you know, you almost had a cross market because it was a gaming system, but people bought it because you could play Blu-rays on it. And
yeah, I remember that, the whole Blu-ray craze. Yeah, from DVD. It was funny. It was like I think Sony owns the right to the Blu-ray technology because they were trying to come out And I'm not gonna get to the whole like logistics of Blu-ray because I don't want to bore everybody what an actual Blu-ray disc is. There's my video background coming out, but yeah, it was Blu-ray and it was something else that they were trying to come out with. Another, there was a competition.
HD DVD.
HD DVD and Blu-ray was a big competition. And again, I'm not gonna go into the whole like specifics of what's the difference between both, but there was that big war, and I think Sony won, and Sony owns the licensing rights to the actual Blu-ray technology. But yeah, I do remember when, you know, Blu-ray players, you know, came out and people were like, oh, forget DVD, burn them all. I'm into this cool Blu-ray.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like, I mean, there's just something about, you know, like looking back at that nostalgia and like appreciating it, you know, like I think that there's just, you know, today's society is just so, you know, we didn't have Amazon, we didn't have, you know, all these delivery services. And, you know, in a way with the pandemic and everything going on, like I'm lucky that those, you know, we're all lucky that those things are in place, because if you do need something quickly like diapers or, you know, whatever, you know, you could get it delivered to the house and not have to go out and expose yourself and stuff like that. You know, so like that's definitely, there's a need for it now with what we're going on. But like, you know, just that kind of, you know, instant gratification of, oh, I need to go online, I need to buy something. Okay, it's bought, it'll be delivered, you know, if I have Amazon Prime in 2 days, and okay, I can go to bed now. And like not like living in that era where it's like you have to like go out and like buy it, look for it, whatever. You know, it's just it's incredible. But yeah, I mean, thinking back about like the 8th generation, you know, going into the 9th generation of video games, and we started at 2, you know, generation 2.
I know.
And now we're going into 9, and you know, think about the kids being born today, they're starting at 9. You know, like how many more generations are there going to be in the next 20 years, you know?
Oh man, hopefully I'll be alive by then to keep seeing what's coming out, man. PlayStation 19.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we'll be sitting in our rocking chairs off the front porch. Back in my day, you know, we had to blow in cartridges to get them to work.
I know, right? Oh my God, man. But yeah, man. Yeah, it's just great to look back at 20 years of the PlayStation 2. So PlayStation 2, I commend you and I thank thee on this 20-year anniversary, because you brought us, myself and Aaron, and everybody else listening, and everybody from that era, great memories. So PlayStation 2, happy birthday to you. And now we're gonna finish off the show with some toy talk. We're gonna get into some toy talk. Aaron, you brought up something about the Ghostbusters.
Yeah. What about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not really toy. I mean, it's not really. It's toy related. It's pop culture related. But
nice.
Adidas just came out with a whole bunch of Ghostbusters apparel, and they came out with these shoes. I think they came out with 2 different pairs of shoes. One of them I really like. The other one I'm not a fan of. The one shoe, and I'm sure you can go on Adidas website and check them out. I think they're already all sold out by the time we're making the podcast. They went fast, and one shoe was based off of kind of the jumpsuit design, so it's like a tan design, and it's got a name badge on it. I can't remember what it says on the side, but it looks kind of like the jumpsuit. Let me see if I can pull up a picture of it real quick. And basically they came out with a couple merchandise items, and just really kind of, it's cool that, you know, we always talk about this on the show, that they bring things back for like the adult collector, right? You know, like it's always like, oh yeah, well, we're going to bring back Ghostbusters. But I think with the new Ghostbusters movie coming up, that was kind of technically already supposed to be released, but the pandemic kind of pushed it back. Yeah, so the first one that I really like is a tan. It's got Reebok on the side in that same print as like the name tags that were on the original Ghostbusters jumpsuits. It's got kind of like the ghost trap. You know how it had the white and black lines on the back of it?
Yes, yes. Is that the sneaker that it looks like a rocket boot sneaker? Like I'm about to put it on and take off.
Yeah, no. That's the one I don't like.
Yeah.
So the proton. So the first sneaker that I'm a huge fan of is the tan one. You know, the brown one. The other one that I'm not a fan of is it's got like a proton pack on the back of it. It's a white kind of high top, and it's like it's got these two blue lines going into the. Now I'm sure people are going to collect these just to kind of either put them on displays, and you know we talked about sneakerheads in the past, and I think that people are going to buy them, but man, they are ugly as shit.
Listen, Aaron, you know what? Look, for everybody listening, I'm a huge Ghostbuster fan. I love Ghostbusters. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm gonna say this about those sneakers. Those sneakers remind me of the sneakers that Wile E. Coyote used to order from Acme with the rocket packs in the back. And when he would turn those things on, it'll be like, poof, and he would just like take off after the Roadrunner, but he'll smash himself, you know, into like a canyon or something. That's what those Ghostbusters sneakers look like. And again, I'm a Ghostbusters fan, but I do not want to put on those sneakers and have those things blow up on my feet.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, like the one looks great. I think it's a sleek design. The other one, not so much. But I mean, you know what? With sneakerheads and, you know, people in general, you know, the Back to the Future shoes, I think people are going to buy them just to mainly collect them, maybe put them on display. But Element, the skateboarding company, came out with some Ghostbusters merchandise and some Ghostbusters skateboards. And I got to say, like, I have one skateboard in my collection that I ended up getting from an artist who like repainted it. It looks phenomenal. Like, I would be a fan of putting these skateboards up on my wall. I mean, they are really well done, and I think for like a Ghostbusters collector like yourself, and you know, you kind of have you're the classy displayer now with your Detolf shelves, and you know, I still got my old wooden bookshelves and stuff, you know, so. I think for you, like maybe getting one of those Element skateboards, if you haven't checked those out, I would check those out. They're really cool. And I mean, as a wall hanger, you know, skateboards, like the backside of skateboards display really nicely. And they even have like Slimer wheels that you can put on them and stuff like that. So Element did a really good job with the Ghostbusters line as well.
Oh, I'm going to have to check those out. I think Element did a TMNT 1990 movie skateboard. And it was awesome. It was the turtles coming out of the sewer, like the poster from the 90 film. And it was cool. Yeah. So Element, Element does do cool skateboards, and it's cool to hang them on the wall. But I'm definitely gonna take a look into that, man. I haven't seen that skateboard, so
yeah.
That's awesome, man.
That's it for me in the Ghostbusters realm. But I just thought that those were kind of neat, kind of tie-ins to what. You know, the bringing it back kind of like with the reboots of things.
No, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, man, listen, there's a lot of toys out. Again, there's Masters of the Universe Origins, G.I. Joe Classified Series, Hasbro Pulse with their Star Wars, and I still got to get those holiday stormtroopers, you know, because what doesn't say holidays than a nice cozy looking holiday stormtrooper? So, you know, I want to get my eggnog ready, and I want to have my stormtrooper with my porg, you know, with my little Charlie Brown tree, you know, set up a little display. So I still want to get those holiday stormtroopers. I'm still trying to get the Master of the Universe Origins collection, the Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series, NECA with their turtles, Premium DNA just did their Mad Balls. You know, they're about to do their Battletoads. They just did their Barnyard Commandos. Super 7 just came out with Snake Mountain. I mean, it's a great time to be a toy collector. Whether you're into vintage, modern, I mean, there's just so much. We got hit with so much this year to the point where I haven't even catched up yet. And once the holidays are over, I am definitely gonna pick up a bunch of these lines. I mean, Power Rangers Lightning Collection. I mean, Aaron, like, there's just so much out there. Did I miss any line? I said Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, no, you hit most of them. I mean, I think it's what you're into. I mean, funny enough, and my wife was like, "Oh, are you going to talk about this tonight in the podcast?" And I was like, "I don't know." I mean, so like I've been getting into Micro Machines again, because they re-released the Micro Machines. So,
Oh, nice! I didn't even know that.
yeah, so I mean, you can find them in like the Hot Wheels aisles, or like, in in a couple of the toy. I mean, they're kind of all mixed up. I've been finding them lately in the Hot Wheels aisles at like Walmart, and one of they kind of released like a chase. So like there's a silver car and there's a gold car. So I found two of the silver cars so far. So I have two of them in my collection. I haven't found the gold one yet. So it's kind of like a fun like treasure hunt type thing with the Micro Machines. But yeah, so they released only a couple sets. Some of them are like 3 cars and some of them are 5 cars. They're relatively inexpensive. They're like $5 for the 3 and like $10 for the 5. And then they released like 3 or 4 play sets. They brought back the big van that folds out into like the big city play set. So, I mean, yeah, like for me, like I've been trying to, pick up the Micro Machines when I can and like here and there, but mainly I want to actually like play with them. So like I want to get a few sets just to kind of like open and play with my son. He's big into Hot Wheels right now. So, yeah, I mean,
That's awesome.
There's so much modern stuff. I mean, with the WWE, I mean, if you're big into WWE, the Elite Series, they're constantly coming out with new products. The Classified series has been really popular. Then I think Wave 3 is coming out. I want to say February, with Zartan and the Cobra Trooper and a few others. Yeah, I mean, now is just. I ended up picking up a NECA Gremlin the other day. It was the Ultimate Gamer Gremlin. That was the first NECA that I bought. But like I think I texted you and Dave. I was like, for some reason this is talking to me.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know why, but it's like I don't really collect NECA, but I was like, you know what, this is kind of cool. It kind of checks all my boxes, and I ended up picking that up. I mean, there's so much from, all these reboots. And I think the thing is, though, that, and we talked about this time and time again, I think it's like beating a dead horse. It's the distribution issues. I mean, you want to try to find one of these toys. I mean, good luck. I finally found one of the new Hiss tanks the other day.
Wow.
At Walmart, which I was surprised. I haven't found the other vehicle, but I mean, I was like, I found one Snake Eyes for the 3 3/4, the new, release a couple of weeks ago. And I found the Hiss tank, and I still haven't found Baroness. I haven't found, the other one, the other vehicle. I mean, it's like these, like some Walmarts in the Midwest are getting all of the stock. And then, up here in the Northeast, we're getting kind of like the leftovers. I mean, I see pictures of people's Walmarts and it's like full to the brim. And then you and I walk into Walmart up here and it's like bare bones.
Yeah, man. And that's the thing, man, with the distribution. It's so funny that you say that, Aaron, because I walked into my local Walgreens and there he was in a peg, Cobra Commander from the G.I. Joe Classified series. And it was just weird, like, because I know Walgreens carries some figures, here and there. Like sometimes they'll do Marvel Legends at Walgreens, and Walgreens have special figures that come out just towards Walgreens. But again, it's like, really, Walgreens? Like, oh, this figure's just for Best Buy. This figure's just for Walgreens. This figure's just for Target. This is a Walmart exclusive. It's like, can we stop doing that? Can we just get these toys directly from you, the actual company doing them? And I think that's where my frustration comes from. It's like, listen, if you're into G.I. Joe, most likely you're into Star Wars. And if you're into Star Wars, then most likely you're into Turtles. So what happens is you might have a collector that's into multiple lines or maybe 2 lines. that's where it gets crazy because it's like you want to get some of these toys. And when it just becomes like exclusive distribution to these stores and you can't get them directly from the manufacturer, it kind of sucks, because now it's like if you don't get it, you're going to have to get it in the secondary market. And God knows what the price is on those.
Yeah, and that's where you're going to pay stupid money. Like I think we talked about last time, I was lucky enough to get a couple of those Cobra Troopers and, from Target, with the classified series, and I paid, retail for those $20. I think now online they're still going for between $100 and $120.
That's crazy. That is just insane, man. That is just crazy, man. But listen, man, it's crazy, but it's a good time to be a toy collector. It's a good time to, be collecting because, like, at the end of the day, it's all the stuff that we grew up with and all the stuff that we love. Aaron, before we take off, is there anything else that you want to bring up?
No, I think this was a great show. I think we hit a lot of topics, and no, it's just I just hope everybody out there is doing their best to stay healthy and I know, like myself, staying sane during all of this craziness that's going on. Like you said, there's a lot going on in the world right now, and hopefully people listening to this can take 2 hours of their day and sit down and listen to this and just relax and enjoy the toys and the video games and just kind of take a step back from reality for a little bit because I know sometimes, especially in my life, and you get caught up and you do things and you just don't take time for yourself, and I think that's really important during this time. So that's probably where I'll finish with is just hope everybody takes a few moments to themselves in the next coming weeks, because we all know that the holidays can be crazy, and especially with everything going on, it can just add some stress. So just take some time for yourself and enjoy.
Yes, I listen, I couldn't even say it better myself, man. So thank you for that, Aaron. And with that, guys, don't forget to listen to us on anchor.fm. That's going to lead you to all the other links of where you can listen to our podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Box Prize Podcast. We also have the toy out segments in there. So if you want to get deep into any toy lines, we got G.I. Joe, Mass, and Transformers up there so far. So check those episodes out and follow us on Facebook at Box Prize Podcast. And man, this was a good show. Aaron, thank you again for doing another amazing job as my co-host. And with that, we will see you guys next time here at the Box Podcast.